headliner for me, Dylan Raiola. And by the way, it was on the day of his commitment to the Georgia Bulldogs. This is what he had to say about that decision.
I think it's a big weight off my shoulders, just knowing where I want to be, where home is, and just being able to enjoy the rest of my high school year, and be with my pinnacle guys, and just be around them in this environment. I feel like I always bet on myself. USC is a great program, Nebraska is a great program. I have nothing but respect for Coach Riley, Coach Bull. But just coming down to it, Georgia just felt like the best place for me, and I look forward to growing and striving in that environment. It's crazy to think how many guys we can get in, which guys. But at the same time, it just feels good to just finally commit and meet the new guys that already been committed and been on me. So just to be a member of the Georgia family, it feels surreal and it's a blessing. Well, it's always been day one to go play with Jeremiah Smith. So KJ Bolden, I'm working to keep him in state. Sammy Brown as well, keeping in state. Some West Coast guys, Nate Frazier, Brandon Baker. I need to get some old linemen to protect me, so I'm gonna go get Daniel Calhoun. Been talking to Cam Pringle a little bit, so there's a lot of guys, and it's pretty cool to just be able to pick from these guys, and we'll hopefully build the best class ever. We'll be number one for sure, but that's gonna take some time. That's gonna take a lot of hard phone calls and just being up front with everybody, but. I'm gonna get my recruiting hat on. That was Coach Smart told me to do, is get my recruiting hat on, so I'm ready.
Did that smile ever come off his face? I mean, I feel like he was just so smiley that entire time. You can tell that was a big weight lifted off of his shoulders. But that was just a taste of your visit. Once the cameras stopped rolling, he told you about some of the calls that he made after making his decision. But of course, before publicizing it, there was the fun call, he mentioned it, to Kirby Smart. And then, of course, the not so fun calls to USC and Nebraska. Really respectful for him to do that, though. But what did he tell you about all of those conversations?
Yeah, the most difficult conversation was that call to Nebraska and his uncle Donovan Raiola, the offensive line coach who was recruiting him to Nebraska and hoping that he would join the Husker family and continue that family legacy. He said it was the toughest one because how do you say no to family, right? And obviously I think it was a difficult thing for him to do, but I think he felt like it was the right thing to do at this moment. He wanted to make a decision sooner rather than later so he can start working and helping Georgia recruit. He wants to aim for that number one class. Obviously, that call to USC was also a tough one. How do you say no to potentially being in that mix or in the conversation, considering what Lincoln Riley's able to do for the Heisman Trophy? But I think for him, that phone call on Saturday, this past weekend, to FaceTime with Kirby Smart, he said that was the first time he was able to chat with his sister. His sister is a volleyball player at TCU. He mentioned that, Kirby Smart had a little fun ribbing there with the sister, saying that they whooped TCU in the national championship. And so he felt like that was a fun, kind of moment there between both families. He said Kirby Smart was surrounded by his own family. Dylan was obviously surrounded by his family when they announced it. And he even told me that Kirby Smart was surprised that, when he announced and when he told them formally that he was committing, which was, I thought it was a funny thing there because it always seemed like Georgia had, gotten the momentum here for the last 3 weeks. So, I think for him, make those conversations, to make those phone calls, it allowed him to have some finality finally with the recruiting process.
Well, clearly Kirby Smart is not watching the college football recruiting show because we talked a lot about how it was trending in the direction of Georgia. Man, the Raiola family's got to be pretty happy that TCU and Georgia battle in the national championship happened before Dylan went to Georgia, because there's going to probably a lot more smack talk in that family. Blair, he also talked about the timing of his decision, and even before, when he was committed to Ohio State, that was so early on in his process. So why do you think it was important for him to, as he said, get this weight off his shoulders?
I think he was just ready. I think he had been giving subtle indications that he knew where he wanted to be, and I think Georgia, with the appeal that carries, to be able to be a player that's already committed when you're going on some of these visits, it's only going to help him recruit, right? It's only going to help him when he puts on that recruiting hat to be able to say, yeah, I am committed, you should be too. He had been up to the Elite 11 regional in Eugene. I wrote about it then a few weeks ago that it could have been very easy for him to go to Oregon's spring game, which was the day before the workout, and check in with Dan Lanning, check in with the new offensive coordinator Will Stein, get a feel for the atmosphere inside Autzen Stadium. He also trains in Los Angeles, and one of his final visits to LA was not even able to make it over to USC's spring game. It could have been a quick 35 minute drive to the campus to check out Caleb Williams in that spring game, but he did not do that either. So I think for him it was about time. He was ready. He wanted I think that distraction to get off of his plate, to get off the table, and then just focus on where he wanted to be. And clearly that was Georgia. Clearly that's the SEC. And I think now for him, it's about being able to build the players around him and, shoot for that number 1 class.
Oh, yeah, you could tell, again, by that video, just smiling ear to ear. Such an exciting time for him and his family. Hey, our watching, the viewers to our like ratio is so off. We're very close to 100 likes, but we got way more viewers than that. So if you are watching and you have not already, go ahead and hit that like button. You mentioned the number 1 class. He said that Kirby Smart told him to put that recruiting hat on. We talk about this all the time when it comes to that face of the class, acting as a recruiter, but all these guys have different personalities, right? I mean, based on your conversations with him and maybe observing how he interacts with other players in the huddle or just behind the scenes, how convincing and persuasive is Dylan Raiola as a recruiter?
I think for him, it's about being able to familiarize himself with some of these prospects, right? Georgia's going to recruit nationally, so he has to know every bit of information. And I think he's gotten a list of guys that he needs to target. He knows exactly what he needs to attack. And now that he is committed, I think it gives him a little bit more ammo, right? I think if you're a recruit, especially an Elite 1, a 4-star to a 5-star, and Georgia's on your list, and now you know that Dylan Raiola is committed, you feel really good about the future of that program. So it gives him a lot of examples there. His resume speaks for itself as well. As a recruiter, he's been able to do that already when he was at Ohio State, giving some of that momentum to the Buckeyes. Now he's going to target a guy like Jeremiah Smith, right? A guy like Mikey Matthews. You mentioned some of those West Coast prospects like Nate Frazier and Brandon Baker, who we discuss on this show quite a bit. It's now giving him clear targets, and it gives those recruits a clear understanding of, okay, if I go to Georgia, the quarterback position is going to be locked down, right? Dylan Raiola is going to be there. Ryan Puglisi, another top 24/7 prospect, is also committed in this class at quarterback. They're going to be fine because one of those guys is going to in a way carry the torch. And so I think for him it's going to be a little bit easier now knowing that he's committed, and it's going to give him a bit more ammo heading into some of those conversations.
I love that he was calling them out by name. Like, I'm coming for you, Jeremiah Smith. I'm getting my wide
guys,
receivers.
Emily, they try to stay secretive, right? That's a question that we ask on the recruiting trail quite a bit. Like, who are you targeting? Who do you want to get? Who are some names that you have on your list? And some quarterbacks kind of keep it under their vest because they don't want to spill all the secrets because, they're hearing it directly from the offensive coordinator or the position coach or the head coach that's saying, hey, you need to call this guy. Hey, did you call this guy on Thursday? We need him. So some of the quarterbacks are really, really quiet because they don't want those names out. They don't want to know. They don't want everyone else to know, who they are targeting. But I think Dylan Raiola has enough confidence. He has enough moxie to him that he understands that, hey, even if I spill all the secrets, I think we're going to be in good shape.
Oh, yeah. Dylan Raiola saying, I want you to come and play with me at Georgia.